Hello, welcome those who are joining live or if you're watching this recording. This is just a 30-minute talk to go over the retreat that's coming up at the end of November. And my name is Nea and I am Australian, but I now live in Cape Town, and I have been traveling to India every year except for COVID since 2005. And I've been leading retreats since 2000. And these retreats have been often in the north of India, in Himachal Pradesh and Rajasthan. And I now have a very strong desire to do a retreat in Tamil Nadu. And one of the reasons for this is this retreat, well, it's all in the name. It's called Sacred Sites. So what itinerary is normally full of lots of different things, from cultural immersions and yoga and sightseeing and other sort of tourist things to explore in India. But normally the most powerful experiences, particularly for yoga practitioners, is going into some of the ancient sacred temples of India. So this retreat is going to focus on just that. And particularly in Tamil Nadu, we've got some incredible temples that represent and honor the 5 elements. So we're going to be visiting 3 of what's known as these Pancha Bhuta sthalams. Sthalam means sacred site. So for representing, the first one we go to is for the earth element. And we are also going to temples that are very focused on Devi, or Shakti, which is the divine feminine. So I'm now going to hand over to Sabin, who is organizing the itinerary, because he's the expert on this part of India, and he's going to run through the day-by-day itinerary.
Thank you so much, Nia, for that. So it's a Sacred Sites Women's Retreat. So it's a all-women sort of a retreat, and it's 8 days, including the landing day in Chennai. This is the route that we are covering throughout the trip. The trip starts from the city of Chennai, a coastal town. From there, we move into Kanchipuram and, few further down south. And we again end in Chennai, coastal Chennai. So for people trying to fly in for the trip, Chennai MAA is the airport that you will have to look at. I will run through the itinerary in detail now. So if you want to arrive few days earlier than what is planned, we can incorporate that as well. We can help you from the time you land in Chennai airport. We can arrange pickup and also book extra days if you want to arrive early. So that's day 0. But the retreat itself starts on day 1, which is
November 28th,
okay.
December 4.
Yeah.
December.
So the first day is November 28th. So that's when the retreat starts. And everyone who lands in Chennai MAA airport will be driven in a private chauffeur to the hotel in Kanchipuram. And in Kanchipuram, the first day is a relaxed day. We get together, we share our intentions for the trip, we get to know each other. And then we take a walk to the Ekambarishwara temple. This temple has a 3,000 plus year old mango tree. And legend has it that Parvati herself did puja for Shiva here. Uh, traditionally, traditionally and historically very rich temple, which was constructed by multiple kings, multiple era. So you will see that in the architecture of the place itself. So day 1 is very relaxed. Before you enter the temple, you will also get to learn about what kind of rituals to follow, how to experience the temple very safely with respecting the culture. Nia and I, along with my teammates, will be guiding you to experience the temple itself safely. And on day 2, we move towards a Kanchi Kamakshi temple, which again is a very significant temple in terms of Indian spirituality itself. One, because Adi Shankaracharya himself had been to this place and he had consecrated a Sri Chakra right in front of the Devi itself. The Devi itself is referred to as the Tripura Sundari, which is the global divine mother, as we call it. So, and people say that, this particular temple, uh, years, has been treated as one of India's top 3 Shakti Pitas. So for our entire trip to start from here, I would say is the ideal way to experience the Shakta tradition of South India. And once we finish that, we then move for lunch and evening. Again, Kanchipuram is known for its silk viewing, and silk saris and silk related clothing is very famous in this part of the world. And we still have traditional viewers who do this. So we will be visiting these viewers and understanding how traditional viewing has crossed through generations. It's still a dying art, but we get to still experience it through some of the people who live there. One other important space within Kanchipuram, Kanchipuram is a temple town itself, so there are hundreds or thousands of temples there. But if time permits, we'll also visit the UNESCO site for Shiva, which is called as Kailash Nadar. This is a temple that was built by the same kings who traveled to Cambodia and all that later, who built the Angkor Wat. But before that, the model temple was this Kailash Nadar. So it gives you a sense of what Angkor Wat kind of style had been modeled, in the south first before traveling elsewhere. So day three, from there we move further south. This is going to be a little longer ride in the entire trip. I think this is the most longer drive. It's about 4 to 5 hours. But throughout we'll be driving through countryside, stop in multiple places, have tender coconut and fresh fruits because we are going mostly through farmlands and things like that. So the entire journey will be very pleasant. We'll take breaks where every 1.5 hours and then keep moving. And we are actually moving towards the Temple of Water, which is called Kaval in uh, in Trichy. And this temple itself is known as Jambukeshwar Akilandeshwari. But on this day morning, which is day 4, pardon me on the title there. On day 4, we hiked the one of the oldest rock in South India, and there is a small Vinayaka temple, which is Ganesha temple, on top of the rock. So we visit that temple. We do a small hike early in the morning, visit the temple, and then we go to the temple of water, which is Jambukeshwar Akilandeshwari. And this again is the Devi here is a fierce tantric deity, which again was mellowed down by Adi Shankaracharya by making her wear some Sri Chakras and also placing a Ganesha in front of her. Like the mother seeing the sun cools herself down. So again, the entire space has been built from 4th century by multiple kings. Multiple dynasties have contributed to the temple architecture itself, and it's a beautiful big temple to witness. And from there, we move towards Tanjore, which is called the rice bowl of India. So this is where the maximum rice cultivation happened in the entire country. Not so much now, but it still fairly holds a large extent of rice that's being cultivated, which means this place also is the place where traditionally Tamil history and Tamil culture kind of flourished. So you get to see a lot of these paintings and traditional art forms here. We are also trying to see if we can help you experience traditional dance forms. I have a session here about a traditional dance form called Bharatanatyam here. And here you will experience what we call as big temple. So again, a Shiva temple known for its grandeur and architecture still amazes people about how the entire temple was built just by the sheer structure and the kind of stones that's used there. And we move towards a very, very calming and nice hotel for the next 3 days called the Indeco Heritage Hotel, which is in Kumbakonam, Swami Malai. So here we spend our next 3 days in Kumbakonam, which is called the Varanasi of the South. As you know, Varanasi is the spiritual capital of India, to be honest, and Kumbakonam is no exception. You will meet people who have been in the process of devotion for their lifelong, and the people that you meet, the food you eat, everything you will see the devotion, because whatever you eat in this part of Tamil Nadu will be different from every other part, because someone who is making a chai is making for chai for the last 30, 40 years and still happily, joyfully making chai. So the entire experience around this region is going to be um, a cultural immersion, I would say. So 3 days of full cultural immersion is going to happen in Kumbakonam. If you notice, all the other spaces we are staying about 2 nights, but this space specifically we are staying 3 nights, just so that you can immerse and imbibe the devotional culture and the historic spiritual culture of this region. And from there, we move towards Chidambaram on day 7. You might have seen a Nataraja statue in your yoga studio or everywhere, but this is the temple for it. Anywhere, everywhere that you see a Nataraja statue, that Nataraja statue comes from here. This was the first temple that was built for Nataraja itself, and still holds again a beautiful architecturally quite significant. Even the rituals to the priests there are completely different from what you will experience, in other temples. Like they say, every tool requires a specific hands-on experience. And this particular temple, for the last 1,000 years, the families have carried forward this legacy. They live with the temple itself. For them, this temple is everything. Think about 2,000 odd less than 2000 odd people who live to maintain this temple. That's their only lifetime work that they do, which is being part of this temple, part of the temple ritual. So we get to experience the how temple economy kind of powers the livelihood itself of people, and how people are dedicated themselves in devotion and living here. So you get to experience that whole thing in Chidambaram. And of course, this is a place of ether, which means be ready to meditate here. This can help you create that space that you are looking for. So this is the temple of space. And from here, we do a darshan, and if possible, we'll also visit a um, 17th century saint, Vallalar, who has again written a lot about how humans have the ability to manifest uh, to become light. So he has written extensive scriptures and process of achieving it. It is very connected to our Chidambaram visit. So if we have enough time, then we also visit this saint whose teachings are very simple. He just says, light a lamp, the corner of your room. So it's quite a significant space to visit. And then we head towards the coastal town, Mahabalipuram, which is again closer to Chennai, which is again a UNESCO heritage site. It is known for its historic connect because this port was trading across the globe. We are talking about eons back, when we think that mostly it was a barbarian civilization. So it's not that, thousands of years back, the Tamilians were trading across the globe in Rome to different parts of Europe to Australia. So we experienced that for the last day. And before we plan our departure from here, again, all the transfers are taken care of. We ensure that during the time you arrive and when you leave, you are safely transferred in our cabs to the airport. So everything is taken care of from the time you arrive in Chennai until you leave. Over to you, Nia.
Thank you for that. So, what we've tried to do with this is to see as much as possible, but also keeping a balance that we still are not rushing, that we do have some time in each place. And, what I feel with this is when I say it's like sacred sites, is that those sites, those temples, and the culture that is around temple life permeates beyond just the temple itself. So, in terms of the artisans we're going to visit, we're going to see some people, some families that have been making the bronze deities that obviously connected to that, the devotion. And then, as Sabin mentioned, even the food that we're eating is all very specific and particular to the cultural and spiritual traditions that have just been developing and continuing for really thousands of years. It's a very, very ancient land, and many of the temples that we're visiting have been active, living temples continuously. And this is a really important point because you can actually visit many historic sites in India where you see old temples, but they're not always still active. So to go into temples that have been continuously kept active in terms of like literally the diya, the lights lit have been stayed alight for, a couple of 100 or 1,000 years, it's quite incredible. And, I think everyone will have their own different experience as to what you feel in these type of places. But undoubtedly, when you visit places that have had that devotion, that bhakti there for so many, hundreds and thousands of years, you just cannot help but to have something quite a profound experience. And what I've realized after traveling going to many temples in India is the experience is always different, and it's a little difficult to do it as a foreigner without having somebody guide you. You can, but quite often you don't really know what you should be doing or understand the significance of some of the rituals. So I'm really, really happy for this trip that part of what is organized is actually the entry into the temples, and we're going to have 3 actual rituals that we are going to be involved in. So rather than just being kind of like a bystander, walking past, looking up, taking a photo, and you'll see when we are sharing photos, quite often it's just the outside of the temple because you can't take photos inside. So you'll see the outside, and for many tourists, that's all they end up seeing. But we want this to be more than, coming as tourists. We want to give, everyone a chance to actually be a part of these sacred rituals. So that's one of the things that is really organized before. And Sabin, if you want to maybe just go over a couple of the other logistics in terms of transport and hotels and all of that.
We'll be using a tempo traveler van, a comfortable van which has nice cushioned seats throughout the journey. It's a AC van. And you'll also have a local coordinator who's traveling with the group who understands, where to eat, where to take a break, and all these things. So everything is coordinated along with Nia, depending on, the participants itself in the tour. And in terms of accommodation, we have handpicked hotels that are in the 4-star category, which is even in the rural areas. It's a 4-star or a heritage category of hotels is what we are going for, where it is extremely clean service and extremely clean rooms, beds, linens. We have taken extreme care in this, and Nia has been very specific about the quality of the tour right from day one. And we have personally worked with this accommodations during our prayer retreats as well. So I would say this is almost the top category of accommodations that we have chosen for this particular retreat. And another speciality about the entire retreat is it's not only the local coordinator that is traveling with the group, but in every destination, you will have a local who is going to come and meet you and who's going to walk with you through the temples. So, yes, you will understand how to participate in rituals and all that, which is common across all the temples. But what every temple / what every tool is made for, if somebody who has experienced the tool from the time they were a child, if they have walked into the temple with their grandparents for festivals, to even in their adulthood, they have walked in with their kids. That sort of experienced people is who are those who are going to come and walk with you during this trip. I think that's what makes it extremely special, because they are going to share their baby, their way of life with you. And you will get to hear these perspectives and stories from multiple different those. As you know, in Hindi, dost means friend, and that is what we have tried to incorporate in our people as well. And sometimes these can be entrepreneurs, doctors, even professional tourist guides in one or two places at least. But you'll have a mix of different people from different walks of life who have bhakti and the spiritual Indian spiritual process part of their life. And like we told you, your cost covers everything. So you don't have to worry about exchanging a lot of money during the entire trip, because everything is taken care of from the time you arrive at the hotel to transfers to accommodation, transportation during the tour. All 3 meals during the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, is taken care of. And temple access, because as you know, India can get really crowded, and these temples also can get extremely crowded. So we have special entry tickets that we can use. And since we are going for not just sightseeing, to participate in the rituals, we have opted in certain destinations for special permissions and special pricing entry tickets, for our group to experience these things. So which is all part of the package that we are going to give you as well. Like I told you, we will have sessions prior to the trip and even after you land, of how to navigate this culture safely, what to do where, and how to do things, how to safely participate in rituals inside the temple, what is the meaning of each ritual. You are free to decide what you want to participate in and what you don't want to participate in. But all these things you can decide upfront, because all these decisions we are already discussing with you pre-trip, and when you land in India, we are going to share all these final details with you.
Okay,
Yeah, I
you
think
want
that's right.
to stop sharing the presentation.
Yeah.
So, in terms of who might like to join this trip, of course, it's open to women only, and it's not. You don't necessarily need to be a yoga asana practitioner. We will be doing yoga asana. It will be very much part of our day in terms of those who would like to do a early morning session, and I'll be putting afternoon sessions as well. And we will be sitting for meditation formally, but also probably impromptu when we're at various temples. If the space speaks to us, then we will take time to sit and feel the atmosphere and still our minds. But if you are somebody who has just always had the interest and the desire to explore India, I always think that if that desire is there, then you probably should answer it, because it doesn't come for everyone. So if you have it, then answer it. And joining something that is organized and with a group of like-minded people is a wonderful way to experience it. So I'm very happy for anyone to send me any questions. If it's something you're not sure whether it's the right thing for you, probably better to talk one-on-one. You can send me a message. And what I did want to say is that part of my role is a little bit of the sort of the link between talking about these rituals and the temples and the stories, and obviously our local guides will give us a lot of information about the history and why we do these rituals. And from that, I will also add an extra layer as to what does this mean in terms of like a yoga psychology perspective. So for example, if we're talking about Shiva Shakti and we're talking using these terms of Shakti, the Devi, Shiva, it being her consort, what is that actually representing? So in terms of Shiva Shakti, it's actually, we're going to be exploring the concept of the form, which is Shakti, everything that is manifest, and the formless, which is everything that is not manifest, that permeates everything. And I think this is quite an important and useful thing to have traveling in India, because there can be a lot of concepts and a lot of things that come, but as foreigners, it can feel a little bit like confusing. So to have that sort of bridge, and that's my role, is to provide that bridge between what is this actually meaning for you as somebody who's interested in spirituality but is not necessarily obviously a practicing Hindu. But we're learning about some of these really eternal like darshans, like ways of seeing the world, so that will really inform like your studies and interest in yoga philosophy. Sabin, do you have anything else to add in terms of, you've brought so many different people to India?
Yeah. The only thing is, like you said, if you've always had a calling or wanting to know India as a country, and I think this trip hits right there, because we have curated it in such a way that you are going to experience spaces that have been worshipped by billions of people over the last thousands of years continuously. So the space and the energy in these spaces are extremely conducive for anyone with an open heart. So even if you don't know yoga, you have no idea about yoga, it is absolutely cool for you to still walk with us, and experience India.
Yeah. And this trip, it's the area of Tamil Nadu is so rich in terms of art, food, textiles, I keep talking about, but artisans. But not only that, as you mentioned, the driving that we'll be doing, when we say like it's a 4 or 5 hour drive, I know from my personal experience, I love long drives, but through rural India. That's where actually you really get to see it at its best. You're driving through, seeing the palm trees and the rice paddies, and the south is very, very special because it is so lush and welcoming, and who can forget the food? Fantastic food.
And Tamil is also the oldest language, right? So you're experiencing a civilization in which this devotion and this spirituality coexisted, intertwined with the language. As you know, Tamil is the oldest spoken language on records as of today. People still debate about whether Tamil is old or Sanskrit is old. So yeah, experiencing the heartland of Tamil civilization and whatever they held as dear to their hearts and their being, we are going to experience those spaces, and that itself is a big gift. If you are being called, I think you should take that step, because it's a once in a lifetime sort of an opportunity.
So there is an early bird that's ending July 31st. And when you look at the pricing, please know that it really is very all inclusive. The only thing that is additional really are your own flights and visas. And it's even including the picking up of when you arrive, a personal transfer. And one thing I also love is that all the check-ins are done as well, which is really fantastic, because sometimes when you're traveling in India, just checking into a hotel can be a very time-consuming process. So that's all the logistics, and on the ground, it's all done. So we will literally just sail through and just get to enjoy. Okay, well, we better wrap up here. We said it would be 30 minutes. It's been 30 minutes. Thank you, Sabin, for your time.
Thank you so much, Neha.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, everyone.
See you soon. Thank you, everyone.